Oh, welcome. If you're joining me live or if you're joining me late, here's some news for you, all right? It's important to stay up to date with what's going on. Bill Burr, man of the people, getting an article in GQ. Link down below. Everything I plan to talk about, I'll link down below. I wanted to bring up on this St. Patrick's Day. When is St. Luigi's Day? Is that the 4th of December? Remember the 4th of December. Who do we petition to get St. Luigi's Day happening? I think we could do it in time for the 4th of December next year. Anyways, today is St. Patrick's Day, the day where that old Catholic chased all the snakes out of Ireland or something like that. I think he drank green beer. I don't know. But there is an important historical figure that you should know. Bernadette Devlin, an Irish activist who would talk about racism in Boston and say it always depresses her to see her people, the Irish people, being used to oppress black folks in Boston. She was a magnificent force to be reckoned with. Bernadette Devlin. If you never heard of her, please. My friend Paul educated me on her. He educates people every year about Bernadette, and I'm sharing this information with you. Pass it on. Spread the word. There's a link to a YouTube video down below of Bernadette. Why don't we have St. Patrick's Day off? Why don't we have these holidays off? Well, the way things are going, I don't think we're going to have many more holidays off. Everybody's going to be working, not from home. Isn't it funny how Trump can order people to not work from home, but then go home to Mar-a-Lago every weekend? The irony. So Bernadette Devlin, Bill Burr making it to GQ. Is that in honor of St. Patrick's Day? That guy's a ginger if I've ever seen one. My Jesus. Bill Burr, Boston's own. Proud of him. The GQ article about Bill Burr is that he's a voice of the people. It says, how did Bill Burr become a voice of the people? Well, I don't know. He just didn't get corrupted by money. He's not like selfishly obsessed with greed. And he can see common sense out in the world that money is dividing people. The chase. You know what? Here's something I want to ask people. If you believe, Gma, what's up? If you believe, right, that there's a finite amount of money in this system, and this is one of the core tenets of what Bill Burr speaks to, and I implore you, read the article I linked down below about Bill Burr in GQ. Never thought I'd say it. Is this Bill Burr's first? Is he the cover of GQ? He's got to be the main centerfold. Is that what they call it in GQ? Bill Burr is the centerfold of GQ? I bet his family's getting a kick out of this. God bless him. Good on Bill Burr. But one of the tenets Bill Burr speaks to when he says free Luigi or these Nestle CEOs should be hunted down like animals because they're buying the rights to water, what he's essentially talking about is money. People, corporations specifically, and CEOs are so damn greedy. But let me just position this statement to you. If you believe there's a finite amount of money in your state, in your country, in the world, right? Who do you think is more apt to be taking your money? The people who have billions of dollars that they can't even spend. They have so much money they couldn't spend. You literally can't spend $400 billion. Who do you think is more apt to be going after your money and taking money out of your pocket? The people who have billions that's just sitting in stocks and bonds and assets and wealth that they'll never be able to spend, or the people who live around you that are just trying to pay rent and recirculate that money immediately when they get paid, recirculate it into the economy, whether it's buying an egg or a home or paying rent or electricity. Who do you think is stealing your money? And I say stealing it because your neighbors ain't taking your money. There's one facet in this society who is taking money, not recirculating it, just hoarding it. And it ain't your community. It ain't the people at the Stop and Shop or wherever you go to Publix or I don't know, Vaughn's. It ain't the people at the grocery store. It ain't the immigrants. It ain't, it ain't anybody you think it is. It's the people that you don't see except for in the media and in the propaganda pieces that are hoarding billions of dollars. Again, this is just if you think there's a finite amount of money and you got to get your piece of the pie, right? Well, guess what? It's not the people who are asking for the minimum wage to be raised. It's not the people who are saying we can't live off of this little amount of money. They're not stealing your money. People who are the looters at the top. Donald Trump. That guy, his golf, just playing golf every week, and I think it's cost over $20 million of taxpayer money. That's our hard-earned money going to splurge on him playing golf. It's Elon Musk. It's Jeff Bezos. It's Mark Zuckerberg. It's the guys who are hoarding billions, hundreds of billions of dollars that they'll never spend. They're not going to your small business. They're not supporting your local pizza shop. They're not doing this. Raising minimum wage doesn't help. That is absolutely false, Jared. Raising minimum wage does help. And it hasn't kept up with inflation. In fact, the minimum wage now in 2025 is worth less than it was in 2020. So that is just a flat out lie, 100% a flat out lie. Minimum wage raising does work. And in fact, it boosts the economy. And if you don't believe it, go look at the studies here in Massachusetts before 2015 and after 2015 and how the economy boomed after 2015, after we raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour. It is so stupid. That is such propaganda. You don't even, I can't argue with you. Just if you think that, I feel very, very bad for you. Because here's the common sense solution that people don't like to look at. That the solution to poverty is money. The solution to not having money is money. So when you give people, remember, this economy is not stocks and bonds. We don't give a shit how the stock market does. It doesn't affect regular people, okay? Most people, if you have a couple of stocks, you're not the stock market. You're not Wall Street. The economy is 70% consumer purchasing power. So when people have money, they can spend that money. When you make people barely survive, or like last election, vote on the price of eggs so they can afford eggs, what is that telling you? That's telling you that people are not paid enough. Grown adults should not be aspiring to minimum wage. Okay, so you're just a propagandist, Jared. It's not entry level, or like you're repeating for teenagers. This is the funniest thing, and the simplest way to shut you up is if it's only for teenagers, then Jared, do Target, Starbucks, Walmart all close during school hours? Can you not go shopping because only teenagers work there? I mean, it's just on its face, it's stupid. So I don't like to think people are stupid. I think people have been taught stupid things and they regurgitate stupid things. So it's just, what's up, Black Merlin? I'm just dealing with a propagandist. One of these people who's like, you know what the problem is? People want more than minimum wage. You have no sense of fucking the fact that people are sitting on billions of dollars that will never re-enter the economy. They're not paying people a living. They're trying to hire H-1B visas. Elon Musk was like, I need H-1B visas. He's trying to hire immigrants and he's firing Americans. And he's doing that so he can pay them basic. So Jared, it's just, listen, it's not my argument. It's a fact. It's like I've testified at the Massachusetts State House. I have fought for this for a long time because it's you just get told this stuff and you believe it. You go, yeah, it's an entry-level teenager job. And I go, oh yeah, that totally makes sense because Starbucks closes at 7 and opens at 3 when kids get out of school. It's like you don't even put critical, folks, we gotta critically think. You got to stop listening to what Elon Musk and Trump and the corporations want you to believe, the mass media, the lamestream media. You got to stop listening to them and taking them at their word. And you just got to do a little bit of research. You got to understand the economy is people having money. And when people are voting on egg prices, that tells you they're worried about money. It's just basic stuff. Dude, you don't have to be an economist. I'm saying, well, you come in here rattling stuff off like, talking smack on minimum wage. And here's the thing, Jared, you're spreading that horrible disinformation to people who might look up to you. I'm assuming there are. Everybody has people who listen to them, value their take, and I'm giving you that. Even though, if you said that shit around me, man, I would put you in your place real quick. Well, I just had to, because sometimes people repeat stuff that they don't even think about, and it's so dumb on its face. Not saying you're dumb, again, trying to be very respectful here, but you're repeating stuff that is harmful to people who, like me, I had a job, 6 figures, and now I'm working back at minimum wage. You think because I fucking wanted to? And I can't even do anything. And there's a lot of people out there like that. But neglect my story. Never mind my story. I'm just saying, like, the propaganda you've been taught and repeat doesn't even make sense. When people say it's for teenagers and it's an entry-level job, I'm like, then why is Walmart open 24 fucking hours a day? Teenagers can't work that long. But again, this comes from a guy who was a working teenager. It's all right, Jared. And you don't have to be an economist, and that's why I'm sharing this with you. That's why I have to address this stuff. I can't just keep going on about the news and how cannabis... Scientists have found a breakthrough that there's a cannabis strain that's void of THC that can be an opioid replacement. And I thought, what a stupid racist drug war we had for decades in America when we could have had this stuff long, long ago. You know, we could have avoided the opiate crisis. But of course, corporations need to make their money. But they are entry-level positions. I mean, they are, dude. But here's the thing, and I'll address that one too. It doesn't matter if it's entry-level or not. And I'm telling you this because people across the spectrum are underpaid, okay? That's why Wall Street Journal a few months ago came up with the term rich session. Because even people who make hundreds of thousands a year are feeling it. So what I'm telling you is entry level or not, it does not fucking matter. The minimum wage was put in place in 1930 something by FDR to make it the basic means of living, meaning having a decent living, could buy a home, could go on vacation, could afford food. Minimum wage was not meant for people to live in poverty. And if you look at like people at Walmart who make minimum wage, they're also on government subsidies and they have to survive. So again, we have tried, and here's my proof. Here's my proof, Jared. You know, this is the biggest thing, is that what you're defending, we've been doing for decades, and we're here. Where last election, people were like, egg prices. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, they're voting about egg prices. I'm like, what does that say to you? That says people are in crisis, man. If people will override fascism, Nazism, corruption, greed, they'll ignore all that for egg prices. I say we are in worse shape than you could ever imagine. Like much worse than you think it is. And if you don't get out and talk to a lot of people, I happen to, but you know, you would know that from rich to very poor, everybody's feeling it, and it's getting worse. But my point is Jared, you don't have to be an economist. I really don't. In fact, I despise economists because they're the ones who got us into this situation. And I go, guys, let's try something new, you know? That's why people voted for Trump, because they wanted something new. They didn't want Democrats anymore, right? That was like the whole thing. They were like, egg, new people, make egg cheap. And it's like, that's decades from Reagan till now. Deregulation, less rules, less workers' rights, less unions, all of that has been tried, and we keep trying it. So the fact that we're banging our head on this wall saying minimum wage won't solve anything, I go, why not try? Why not give people that are saying eggs are worrying me, the price of eggs are worrying me, give them enough money to buy eggs? It almost seems like you don't have to be an economist to understand that the solution to not having money is money. Nothing else. Not spending money. It's having enough money. It's not avocado toast. It's you're underpaid. People have always voted with their wallets. Yes, but Jima, I don't think a time in history where people were seriously like, look at what you're seeing right now. I'm saying this is very unique. This is outside of voting with your wallets. This is people consciously. There was that viral story of that farmer, right? That farmer who was dependent on government loans. And he went viral on TikTok because he said, well, I voted for Trump and now Trump's screwing me over because I'm not going to get my government loans and I had already spent that money. And when people were like, you moron, what did you think Trump was going to do? He's trying to gut and loot the government. He was like, I didn't have time to look up and vote. He just voted with what he thought would be the change of pace for his wallet, not realizing that like their whole platform is like they're going to privatize everything. That's what they want to do. They want more things in the hands of the greedy. And people give them a hard time. And that's why I'm saying this is much different. Like, people actively voted against their own interests on a level unprecedented, because it doesn't take much. And the funny thing was, this farmer said he took a poll online. I'm like, if you have enough time to take some BuzzFeed quiz on who to vote for, you have enough time to like look into stuff. But again, this is why they want to get rid of the Department of Education. This is why they want to attack schools and higher learning. They want to keep you stupid, and they want to keep you oppressed. And how do you do that? You keep people stupid. It might be more about the value of the dollar than the abundance. It is many things. The reason we need are too lazy and greedy to work. Green pug and cactus. Green pug and cactus, you've been here before, right? Well, I don't know. I can't attest to that. I just know that when you come in here piping off about minimum wage doesn't help anything, it really shows that you've been programmed, to just believe what, like when I testified to raise the minimum wage here in Massachusetts, I had to sit and listen to many well-paid restaurant lobbyists spouting doom and gloom, the end of the times, the end of world, end of small business. Like, they're throwing all the fear mongering you can at the wall. But the thing is all you got to do is say, well, look at the past 20 years. Do you think everyone in your community is doing better? Do you think people are doing better right now than they are, 10 years ago? Like, we've been doing the not paying people, not keeping minimum wage with inflation, not giving people any kind of help. Like, we've been doing that for a long, long time, and it's getting worse. In fact, I just read the other day, in 91, the average home buyer was like in its 20s. By 2000 something, they were in their 30s. And by 2021, they were 38, the average home buyer. Wealth is being siphoned out of the working class. And when I talk, because people like to think there's a finite amount of money, the government only prints so much, there's a certain amount of money, and people always say immigrants taking your jobs, or minimum wage earners shouldn't get that money. But I say, who is the biggest part of the pie going to? Okay, if you think money is a pie, do you think it's the people who are saying we don't have enough to live, we can't afford eggs? Or do you think it's the rest of the pie, like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, who keep giving themselves billions and billions of dollars for absolutely no work? These guys don't work. I hate to break it to you. Elon Musk is the CEO of many companies, and I've never seen him at his office once, and he hates remote work. Minimum wage where I live is $16.25, so I don't think that's true, Green Pug. I'm missing... No. Jared, what he's talking about is the federal minimum wage has not been raised since 2009. States have raised it, but there are states like Tennessee that still get paid $7.25. My mother, when she was alive, God bless her, was protesting to raise the minimum wage, to invest in schools, education, the people, to not invest in wars. And the federal minimum wage has not budged. It is still $7.25, which is crazy because when I got my first raise, it was $7, and then my first raise was when it went to $7.25 when I was working on radio 20 years ago. So yes, states have adjusted it, but again, it's not kept up with inflation. There's a whole other thing. But I also want to spread the word on this, that we are being taxed more, especially people like minimum wage. My taxes have gone up. A lot of the working people's taxes have gone up. And right now Trump's fighting. He cut taxes on the ultra wealthy in 2017. And he's fighting in 2027 for another tax cut for people making, $500,000 and over. And we need to tax that wealth, not work. We don't need to be taxing people who work. We need to be taxing wealth. The wealth that people are sitting on that they cannot spend this. Even if they live to 1,000, which Elon Musk never will, but even if you live to 1,000, you could not spend $400 billion. You just can't spend that. And we need to tax that wealth. That's how we reinvest. It's so funny that they're talking about fraud and saving the Americans money, but while they're trying to give the richest people tax cuts. You know how you reinvest in our communities? Taxes. And you tax the wealthy, not the people who are already, tax unrealized gain. I say you tax all the wealth. You tax their assets. You tax so much. I was reading a story about Tesla not paying taxes on $11 billion in profits. Starbucks has a Swiss subsidy company that they've avoided billions in taxes. All these corporations avoid their taxes while they keep paying their CEOs more and keep oppressing their workers and paying them minimum wage. And they've been doing that for decades now, folks. Decades. So what I'm saying is, if you are a staunch defender of the system, then just know you're defending it to get much worse. Because the people out here are asking not for $1 billion. They're asking to be able to buy a home, to pay rent, to have a car, to eat egg. Soulless, good to see you, man. We have an IRL version of Robin Hood, but they take from the poor and give it to the rich. 100%. It's opposite Robin Hood. So listen, let's get back to the point. Bill Burr in GQ, read the article. I posted it down below. Because Bill is just an amazing comic. He's funny. He's doing the tour right now. I guess he's on Broadway, Glenn Ross, which is cool. I didn't know he did Broadway acting. He's got a new stand-up special out. So you've seen him everywhere. He was on Fresh Air, The Breakfast Club, now GQ. Soulless, let's play some Fortnite this week at some point. Bernadette Devlin, amazing Irish civil rights activist. If you don't know about her, I linked a video down below about her. Look her up. Bernadette Devlin is famous for saying, "I'm sad to see my people in the city of Boston being used, my Irish people being used to oppress black people in Boston." And she commented on the busing and the segregation of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and she was very vocal. In fact, I think she got the key to New York City and she gave it to the Harlem Black Panther chapter. So she is an amazing human. Here on this St. Patrick's Day, we got to celebrate the activist, Bernadette Devlin. Look her up, do some reading. Oh, and then the biggest thing I read this weekend, which I could not believe, it's probably not the biggest thing. There's a bunch of stuff going on. Like Elon Musk, had Trump do a Tesla commercial at the White House, and then Elon Musk donated $100 million to Trump. I saw somebody on Twitter or something say, in Europe, we consider that corruption. But here in America, we are just too complacent. We need to wake up, folks. We don't have to be okay with this. Everybody who chooses to be okay with it is allowing this. We can speak up. We don't have to be okay with this. But what I saw, so if you don't know, the drug war, the reason cannabis is illegal all stems out of racism, right? Especially Nixon announcing the drug war. They knew cannabis wasn't harmful, but they also knew that the counterculture utilized cannabis a lot. If they could make cannabis illegal, that means they could criminalize all of their enemies, I guess. That's how they looked at it. They looked at the counterculture and the voting mass against them as enemies. So they started the drug war, and they knew, Nixon's people have said since, we knew that cannabis shouldn't be a class 1 drug next to heroin. They knew that. So you can dive into the history. We could talk about it a different time. So we've had this war on drugs for decades. A lot of people in prison, a lot of people hurt, a lot of families broken up. And then this weekend I read that now scientists, now that some states can study this, because when it was basically very taboo, no scientist would touch it. There was one place in Mississippi that if they were going to study it, they could, but they risked a lot. Now that it's a little more open, scientists have some leeway and freedom to study this plant. And it turns out there's a cannabis plant that has no THC, the active ingredient that gets you high. But it has, I don't know what the chemicals are, but it has opioid-like abilities, and it could be a replacement for stuff like Oxycontin, which I thought that would help so many people. We need to be pushing this. And it sucks that here in 2025, we're only getting these scientific discoveries. I mean, capitalism and racism has stagnated our society where, think about all the people you've lost in the opioid epidemic, through the drug war, all the families, all the hurt, all the pain. I mean, I've lost friends. I've lost a lot of friends. And to think how much could have been avoided if we had this kind of science before and if cannabis wasn't criminalized like it was. It's absolutely devastating. Devastating. And I linked that article down below because you could read about it. And hopefully this strain There was a strain called Charlotte's Web out of Denver. These brothers created it, and they named it after a girl who, once she had a dose of it, it stopped her seizures. And I even wrote them and said, "Hey man, how do I get part of that strain? I needed it for some people I knew." And they put it lock and key. Capitalism doesn't want to share; they just want to profit. And they were like, "No, you can just buy our tinctures." And I was like, "Come on, man, that's not the cannabis community." So hopefully that's the other thing that terrifies me about this scientific discovery, is that if some corporation comes in and goes, we're gonna be the only ones, we're gonna have the patent on those seeds, then we're doomed, you know. There's also been a drug available in Europe for over 30 years, one dose, no more opioid addiction. It's criminal that it's not being made available. That is. Do you know what it's called? Whoever made Oxycontin needs to be arrested. Well, I'll tell you what, the Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family, who will not face any charges, and they have their names all over the philanthropic venues everywhere. The Sackler family is evil. And if you go into the depths of them pushing it and how many people got prescribed it and how they lied and said it wasn't addictive, I mean, it really is devastating. And it's I don't know anyone who hasn't been affected by it. Yeah, I'll try to look it up or drop it in the comments later, because that would be interesting and I would love to know what it is. But yeah, Billy, the people who push that epidemic through in America will never face charges. The Sackler family, you can look it up. They're billionaires and they basically got let off because there's no justice in this. There's no justice for the wealthy when we have this kind of corruption here in America. And that's the other reason, like, you know, we should at least be taxing them more. They're gonna rob us of our friends and family and all that. God, that made me depressed. So yeah, so read about this new cannabis strain that could be an opioid replacement, and hopefully, you know, get your hands on it. Write the people, ask them for a seed. You know, that's what the cannabis community was about, man. It's about sharing. All right. What else was there? Oh, legal corruption. And there's a bunch of stories that I don't think I want to get into right now. But please read about Bernadette Devlin. Read GQ, the Bill Burr GQ article. Oh my God, I forget the other news story because we went into that whole minimum wage talk. But we always, listen, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. I bring you live news commentary, newsmentary, every weekday, and I'm trying to build a community here. So if you could hit subscribe, then hit the notification bell. Good weed does help. You're right. It's a medicine. It always bugs me in this country that you're a medical patient or a legal consenting adult in one state. You drive across an imaginary line and you're a criminal in another. That bothers me to no end. It really does, because this is a medicine that helps people. Join the Discord link down below, and hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Please, we're trying to build out this community. We need more people getting informed. Jared, if you're still here, hopefully I didn't chase you off. It's just hard to tolerate people when they start. I don't like when people crap on the most vulnerable. People make a minimum wage who just want to survive. That is hard for me to tolerate. It really is. And if you've never survived through that, I would expect people to have more compassion. Maybe people that have parents and get to live at home and shit, just haven't had it tough or always had a fallback. Like, they can't see it the way I see it, but that bugs me to no end. But irregardless, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. Irregardless, hit subscribe, because we got to build a community. We got to build a network, a family that we can inform, inspire, build each other up, and really educate each other. You guys educate me. I hope to bring you guys stuff too. So please hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. And for St. Patrick's Day, I'm imploring you. I left a link down below for you to learn about Bernadette Devlin, one of the most important Irish activists of, you know, the past 30 years. So I hope you hit subscribe. I hope you join the family, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Much love. Peace.